Virgo, close the door, not literally. In the specific, energetic, preparatory sense of someone who understands that what is about to arrive requires a particular quality of space to arrive into, who understands that certain things need to be received in a container that has been made ready for them, that the ordinary, open, slightly scattered quality of a life moving through its daily requirements is not the right container for something of this size. Close the door, create the space, because what is coming, whether the space is ready or not. But the quality of how it lands, how fully it is received, how completely it is allowed to be the size it actually is, depends on the quality of the space that receives it. And what is coming is the size of something that has never come before. In a million years, I want to begin with the never in a million years, because that phrase is doing the most significant work in this reading, and it deserves its full examination before we go anywhere else. Never in a million years is not hyperbole. It is the specific, honest description of what I am looking at in your energy right now. The specific, unprecedented, does not fit the prior range quality of what is assembling itself around you. Not something that has appeared in your life in a smaller form before and is now arriving in a larger version. Something categorically new. Something that exceeds the distribution of what you have experienced in this specific territory entirely. Not more of the same. Something else. Something your own imagination, working from the available evidence of your own history, would not have been able to construct, because what is coming was assembled outside the range of what your history made it possible to picture. I did not expect to see this when I sat with your energy, and what I did not expect to see is what I need to tell you is coming. Let me describe the 3 dimensions of what is arriving, because this reading has 3 distinct energies in it, and each one deserves its honest examination. The first is the protection layer. Close the windows, close the doors, not because something threatening is approaching, because what is approaching has a quality of force that requires your most settled, most grounded, most centered self to receive it without being destabilized. Because abundance and revelation and the specific overwhelming quality of something unprecedented arriving in your life simultaneously is not always comfortable, even when it is extraordinary. The protection is not against what is coming. The protection is for yourself. The specific, deliberate quality of someone who understands that receiving something this large requires more than passive openness, that it requires the specific, active, I have prepared this space quality of someone who has closed off the channels through which the intensity of what is arriving might leak out before it is fully landed, who has created the conditions of genuine reception, who is fully here in this moment for what is about to enter. That is the first energy. Prepare. The second energy is the revelation. Something is being revealed, not gradually, not in the slow, piece by piece way that information sometimes makes its way into awareness. In the specific, sudden, all at once quality of a truth that has been held somewhere by someone or by a situation or by the specific arrangement of certain circumstances that is now simply no longer holdable. The holding has ended, and what was being held is going to arrive in your awareness in a form that requires the closed door I spoke about at the beginning, not because what is revealed is something to be hidden from the world permanently, because what is revealed is something you need to receive fully and privately before you share it with anyone else, before it enters the public space of conversation and interpretation and other people's responses to it. You need to be alone with this first, or in the presence of only the most trusted people, the ones who will not immediately begin organizing it into something they understand, who can simply witness you receiving something unprecedented without requiring it to be immediately explainable. The revelation is real, and it is going to ask more of you than most revelations ask. Not because it is painful, because it is large. The third energy is the abundance. And this is the one I want to spend the most time on because it is the one that most directly concerns the never in a million years quality of what I am looking at. Something is breaking loose in the material dimension of your life, in the specific practical numbers and resources and what is available territory that shapes what is possible in the daily reality of how you live and what you can do and what directions are open to you and what you are capable of pursuing without the specific grinding friction of insufficient resource. The something that is breaking loose has been accumulating for a significant period of time. Not accumulating in you, accumulating toward you through whatever the specific mechanisms are in your particular situation. Through whatever the channels are through which resources and recognition and the specific material forms of return on what you have invested have been slowly, sometimes invisibly, sometimes frustratingly slowly moving in your direction. The accumulation has reached a critical mass. When critical mass is reached, the movement that follows is not proportionate. It is not the gentle, steady, incrementally larger than before arrival that the slow accumulation might have predicted. It is the specific, sudden, all at once arrival of everything that was accumulating simultaneously. The backlog, the compressed, concentrated, arrives together version of what was building separately over a longer time. That is what is breaking loose. And the size of it is what produced the never in a million years when I looked at your energy. That is what is breaking loose. And the size of it is what produced the never in a million years when I looked at your energy. I want to describe the specific quality of what it looks like when a critical mass arrives all at once. Because most people have only experienced the incremental version of abundance arriving and do not have a reference point for what the compressed all at once version actually feels like. It arrives faster than you can allocate it. That is the defining quality. In the incremental version, each piece of abundance arrives with enough spacing that it can be absorbed and integrated, and the next piece arrives into a system that has already made room. The absorption happens in real time. The integration keeps pace with the arrival. The critical mass version does not allow for that pacing. Multiple pieces arrive in the same window, some of them directly, some of them as the consequence of other pieces that arrived slightly before them, some visible immediately and some revealing themselves as significant only in retrospect when what they produce becomes clear, all of them demanding attention and integration and decision simultaneously. It produces a quality that is somewhere between overwhelmed and exhilarated, where the overwhelmed comes from, the speed and the simultaneity of it. And the exhilarated comes from the specific, unavoidable recognition that what is happening exceeds what was expected in the best possible way. That quality, that specific combination, is what the closed door I described is designed to help you navigate the space it creates. allows the exhilarated to be more present than the overwhelmed, allows the receiving to happen more fully because the distractions of the ordinary day have been temporarily stepped back. I want to speak to the specific quality of the lock your windows and doors instruction in relation to the abundance, because the instruction is not arbitrary and the connection between protecting your space and receiving abundance is more direct than it might initially seem. When something significant is approaching, the ordinary porousness of a daily life creates specific risk, not dramatic risk. The quiet, gradual, hard to track in real-time risk of receiving something extraordinary and having it immediately disperse through the ordinary channels of how your life moves, of the abundance landing and being immediately allocated to the visible, pressing, already in front of you demands of the current arrangement before you have had the chance to understand its full size and its full implications, before you have had the chance to decide what it actually means for what comes next. Locking the windows and doors is the energetic practice of creating a moment of stillness between the arrival and the response, between the landing of the unprecedented and the immediate pressure to do something with what just landed. The unprecedented deserves a moment of simply being unprecedented before it becomes something you are managing. Tell me in the comments if you can feel the approach of what I am describing. If there is a specific quality in the current moment of your life that suggests something is building, that the ordinary rhythm of things is slightly more charged than usual, that the air has a quality of something gathering. I want to know if the reading is finding what it is reaching for. I want to speak to the never in a million years from a different angle now, from inside it rather than from outside it. You have spent time in recent months or recent years telling yourself a particular story about the ceiling of what is possible for you in the specific territories where you have been working and hoping and navigating. The reasonable, evidence-based, I have experience with this and this is the range ceiling that your history made available, and that your intelligence, which is excellent and which is operating from the available evidence, constructed as the realistic upper limit of what you might reasonably expect. That ceiling is wrong, not slightly wrong, wrong at the level of the foundational assumption it was built from, wrong because the evidence your history provided was incomplete, was gathered from a prior period that did not have access to what is now approaching, was an accurate ceiling for the version of your situation that existed then. The version of your situation that exists now is different, and the ceiling of the now version is not where the history suggested it would be. What is approaching comes from above the ceiling you constructed, and when it arrives, the ceiling does not simply get raised. It dissolves, because you will understand in the receiving of it that the ceiling was always a product of limited information rather than an actual structural constraint. That what was limiting your sense of what was possible was not the actual limit of what was possible. That the actual limit was considerably further than the evidence of the prior chapter made visible. Because you will understand in the receiving of it that the ceiling was always a product of limited information rather than an actual structural constraint. That what was limiting your sense of what was possible was not the actual limit of what was possible. That the actual limit was considerably further than the evidence of the prior chapter made visible. I want to give that one more specific dimension because I think it is the most useful piece of the reading. When the ceiling dissolves, there is a specific brief period of disorientation, not distress, disorientation. The specific quality of someone who has been navigating by a particular set of landmarks and who suddenly finds that one of the landmarks is not where they thought it was, where the map they were using is revealed to have contained an error that has been shaping how they navigated without their knowledge. In that disorientation, an instinct will arise. The instinct to reconstruct the ceiling somewhere else, to find a new limit that restores the comfortable sense of knowing where the edges are, to not exist in the limitless quality of the moment between one ceiling dissolving and a new understanding of what is possible establishing itself. Resist that instinct. Sit in the limitlessness for a moment, not forever, just for the moment of it. The specific, rare, genuinely available to you right now moment of being between ceilings, of the prior limit having dissolved and the new understanding of what is possible not yet having been constructed. In that moment, something becomes available that the ceilinged version of your life did not permit. A genuine openness about what the next chapter looks like. Not constructed from what has been possible before, constructed from what is now actually available. That is the moment the never in a million years produces. And it is brief and extraordinary and worth being fully inside rather than rushing through. Let me speak to what the unprecedented quality of this change is, not the practical things. The story you tell yourself about yourself, the specific interior narrative that has been organizing how you understand your own life and your own position and your own prospects and your own capacity. The narrative that was built from the available evidence of the prior chapter and that has been serving as the operating assumption from which you make decisions and form expectations and understand what is reasonable to hope for. That narrative is about to encounter evidence that contradicts its current version. Not in one piece, necessarily. In the accumulating weight of what is arriving. In the specific, overwhelming, you cannot maintain the prior narrative in the face of this quality of something unprecedented landing in a life that was organized around expectations that did not account for the unprecedented. The story updates, and here is what the update produces. Not simply a revision of the ceiling, a revision of who you understand yourself to be, of what you understand yourself as capable of what you understand as the natural and appropriate scale of what you pursue and what you expect and what you claim as the appropriate territory of your life. You are going to understand yourself larger, not from ego, from evidence. The unprecedented arrival is the evidence, and evidence, when it is undeniable and present and carrying the specific undismissible quality of something that has actually happened rather than something you were told was possible, changes the interior narrative with a permanence that talk and encouragement and reading about the potential of your life cannot produce. This changes you. I want to address something about the combination of these three energies, because the protection layer and the revelation and the abundance are not separate events arriving separately. They are one arrival in three dimensions simultaneously. The revelation reveals something about the abundance. What is being revealed is not simply a pleasant surprise. It is an explanation, a filling in of the gaps in the picture of your situation that makes the abundance make sense. That shows you the mechanism through which what is arriving was produced. That makes visible the invisible work that has been running in the background, producing what you are about to receive without you having had clear sight of it. the revelation and the abundance arrive together because the revelation is part of the abundance. Understanding why you are receiving what you are receiving is as significant as the receiving. And the protection layer is what allows both to be received fully. The closed door creates the space in which you can be simply present with the revelation and the abundance without the immediate pressure of what to do with them, without the social and practical demands that the open door of an ordinary day would bring rushing in before you have finished receiving. 3 dimensions, 1 arrival, unprecedented. As we close, I want to give you the image I have been holding throughout this reading. A door closed, not locked against the world permanently, closed in the specific temporary. I am creating a moment of genuine reception quality of someone who has chosen to be fully present for what is about to arrive, rather than having their presence dispersed across the ordinary demands of an ordinary moment. And on the other side of the door, something gathering, something that has never approached your life in quite this configuration before, that has this specific combined 3-dimensional quality of protection required and truth arriving and material reality shifting simultaneously. That is going to require more of your capacity for receiving than you have been required to bring before. And then the door opens. Not because you decided to open it, because what is on the other side has arrived fully enough that the door's continued closing is no longer necessary. Because the receiving has been prepared for and the space has been made ready, and the you that is on the inside of the door is settled enough to receive what is on the outside of it without being swept off your feet, or maybe swept off your feet in the specific, breathtaking, never in a million years quality of someone who is encountering something they did not know their life was capable of containing. Let it in fully. Every dimension of it. It has been a very long time coming. And you, Virgo, have been preparing for it through everything without knowing that everything was the preparation. Now you know. And the door is ready to open.